Hey guys, so I am going to be doing a video on molting. This was requested by a few people. I don't remember their names, so sorry if this is you who requested this. I don't remember your name. But a few people requested this, so I'm going to be doing a video. I have my notes here. I don't know. This isn't all off the top of my head. I still have to look stuff up. But molting. Molting is basically when a crab sheds their exoskeleton or their skin. And they do that when they're growing. They have to shed the harder outer shell so that the insides can grow bigger and stronger and, you know. Signs. So the signs for the crab is molting are digging. That's one of them. And your crab may become obsessed with it. I know one of my crabs is. And they're just basically digging all the time. And so when you see that, you might want to pull them out and put them in an ISO, but I'll talk about an ISO later in this video. But if they are digging, don't assume that it's a molt, because sometimes it'll just be that they're trying to create a micro, I don't know what it's called, like a micro ecosystem for themselves, because the temperatures in your tank are not right, or like the climate and stuff. So definitely check your gauges, make sure that everything's where it should be. New crabs. New crabs are very prone to digging. My crab, Tyler, I got him on the 17th, I think it was. He's digging a lot. Every time I see him, he's digging or buried. But then he comes back up, so I know he's not molting. A lot of my new crabs did this, actually. They are just resting, really, because they've been in a pet shop for such a long time that they just need to, like, chill out. Which is why you're not supposed to touch them for a month. After you get them, you're just supposed to feed them, water them, leave them alone. So that's basically that. Eating and drinking a lot. Your crab will sometimes tank up, as it's called, and store it in this, like, blackish sack behind their fifth pair of legs that is just filled with a bunch of, like, fats. They eat a lot of fatty foods, I guess, and water, so that they can feed themselves while they're under molting. They will also grow gel limbs, which it kind of looks funny. It's like a little bubble appears, but that's actually the new limb developing, so just look out for that. Okay, the ISO tank. An ISO tank is to provide safety and privacy for a crab to molt, and you want at least 6 inches of substrate. It's recommended that you use sand, and you want to make it sandcastle consistency. You don't want it dripping wet and you don't want it dry. So what's recommended is that you get a 10-gallon tank and fill it with 6 inches of sand, and then you pour about a cup of water in and mix it all up so that it's nice and moist. And that is, okay, so during this time you also want to make sure that the food you're giving them is rich in calcium. So some things are cuttlebones, sea dollars, sea biscuits. They're like little dome things. They're kind of interesting. They're like a sand dollar, except like poofy. So they're pretty cool. Oh, if you find your crab and they're already like mid-molt, or they're like just about to molt, and you put them in ISO, you might want to put in some large shells for them, because sometimes they won't have the opportunity to dig down, and so then they'll just change really quickly into a larger shell where they'll just molt there on the surface. So you want to look out for that too. You want to put in some shells. Darkness is your friend. It is shown that hermit crabs that molt completely under the surface in darkness have the best results. And hermit crabs, I found this interesting, they have 2 hormones. One is a hormone that puts off molting when the conditions aren't right, and then the second one is a hormone that gets the ball rolling when the conditions are right. So if the conditions are right, they're going to molt. Preparation. Okay, so you want to check for your molters each day. If you see a crab digging a lot, eating a lot, drinking a lot, then you definitely want to go pull them out and check for the other molting signs. And if they have the other molting signs, you want to put them in ISO. Cleaning the ISO. ISO doesn't really get dirty because the crabs are just there to molt. They're not interested in eating or digesting, so there won't be any poop or other things. They won't really make a mess in there, I don't believe. Okay, this is kind of I guess this is emergency situations. If your crab, if you go to pick him up and he falls out of his shell and he had been just like, or like he's hanging out of his shell, and he had been active like, a week before, 2 days before, a day before, then he's probably molting unless there is a fishy smell. Then unfortunately he has passed on. Then the smell for molting is more like the smell of iodine, that brownish stuff that they pour on cuts and stuff to clean them. Yeah, so it kind of smells like iodine. If they're molting, if they're dead, then it's fishy smell. But that, and the reason that they would be like falling out of their shell is they are actually not falling out of their shell, it's their exoskeleton that is, and the new crab is probably just tucked way back in the shell. Alright, crabs will sometimes give you sneak peeks, and I actually love when they do this because then blah blah blah, I can't talk today. But then you can see that they are okay. So what they'll do is if they dug down next to the glass, they will be digging, and you could kind of hear them, so it's kind of cool too. I actually use a stethoscope to listen to them. But you can see where they'll pull the sand away from the glass so then you can see in, and they'll be like scraping against the glass, and it makes a lot of noise and you can't sleep with it very well at night, but do not touch your crab after it is molted. Its exoskeleton will still be soft and you can end up doing more harm than good. Crabs usually molt, like a healthy crab would usually molt about every 18 months, so if your crab hasn't molted with you yet, check and see how long you've had them. I have had one crab molt with me, and I've had for her for a little over 2 months, I think. So she's molted, but none of the rest of my crabs have. Sometimes smaller crabs will molt more often than larger crabs, but larger crabs tend to take longer. So that is basically all I know about molting. I did look it up. There was a bunch more to read, but I was too lazy to read it. But these are the basics for molting. I hope this video helped you guys. I will also put a link in the description with the source of where I got this information, and so you can also read the rest of the page. You'll see what I mean by it's really long. So go check that out, and like this video if you liked it, obviously. It helps me out, and it helps me to know what you guys like. Also, comment below if you have any thoughts or if you have any video requests. This was a video request. I will be making a few more later today probably, or right now. I don't know. But that's all. Bye!